Hello guys, I'm Rob Shaw and welcome to Raising Reef. So as you can see, the new tank is still not filled with water, and this is because I'm holding off on that for another few weeks yet, because I may make some decisions about where I'm going to put this tank, and that's still up in the air at the moment. So I don't want to fill it full of water only to have to try and move it to a new location. So at this point it's staying here and it's going to remain empty, but that doesn't mean we can't still move forward with a few additions that we're going to be making to it. The first addition that I'm going to be making is an auto feeder. I have picked up a replacement auto feeder for the one that's on my current system. It's always good to have a backup. So this is the auto feeder that I'm going to be using. They're relatively cheap. There are a lot of different brands out there that look exactly the same as this. This one is a Resun. It's a Chinese auto feeder. It takes a couple of AA batteries and you set the time and it will feed your tank. The drum rotates, you can adjust it to how much it will feed, and it's a simple piece of equipment. It comes with a removable bracket that sits on the underside and you can clamp it to the glass. Well, I can't use it. Oh, I've pressed the button now. Look. So this is the bracket that it comes on, and this is designed to clamp to the side of the glass, and therefore the unit will sit there with the hopper hanging over the edge of the glass and you will drop the food into the tank. If you've been following along with this tank build, you'll know that I fitted a mesh screen to the top to allow me to put fish in there and make sure they stay in there. We don't want fish jumping out of the tank. This stops me from being able to clamp this onto the side without doing modifications to either the screen or, sod around with it in one way or another. So this is actually a spare bracket that I had lying around, and I've used this for the purposes of showing you what it comes like. I have cut this front piece off and I have removed the screw piece on the back and this other piece that allows you to clamp it. This left me with the top piece, which fits into onto the unit itself, and then just one straight down piece. And what I have done is stick a sticky tab on there, and I have mounted it to the back of the tank, as you can see here. That allows me to slide the auto feeder on and off, and it doesn't obscure me putting the mesh top on and off of the tank without the feeder getting in the way. So obviously we won't be running the auto feeder until it's time to cycle the tank, and at that point, when we get it wet, I will have the auto feeder feeding at least once a day. This will add some food to the tank, which will then decay and break down and cause ammonia, and this will help the cycle to continue. The bacteria that I add to the tank will start to work on that ammonia, breaking it down into nitrite and then into nitrate. Nitrate is the end product within the nitrogen cycle, and then this can be dealt with in a few different ways, be it water changes, other chemical reactions and other bacteria that may then transfer that into nitrogen gas. We'll get into that further once we start the cycle, but the addition of food is going to keep those populations of bacteria expanding and growing to the point where they're going to easily be able to cope with the ammonia that any new additions of fish will be adding to the system. This is how I've always started my tanks. Traditionally people may add fish directly to the tank and hope that they just withstand the ammonia build-up in the water and that it doesn't take too long for the bacteria to catch up. But this can cause damage to the fish, it's inhumane, and there's no reason to risk the life of a fish in today's hobby. We try to be responsible reef keepers, and the last thing we want to do is put fish at risk, so we can do a fishless cycle with food being added to the tank. You can also do it with a piece of shrimp or something like that. I find it easy to just feed the tank as if you would, as if there was fish in there, and let the bacteria build up that way. So another addition, I say an addition, but more so a swap out that we're going to be doing is the refugium light that I fitted to this tank. If you've been following along, you will know that I was going to use this. This is an aquarium aqua ray light by TMC. Bright blown out there. It has 4 white LEDs and 1 blue LED on it, and I've been using that type of light on top of my refugium that I have at the moment, and it's been growing the algae quite well. I thought I would try something a bit different with this tank, and this is where the new light that I've ordered has come in, and I'm going to show you what it is. The light that I've ordered is a refugium grow light, which is made up of a bunch of LEDs, which are supposed to be in the right spectrum for growing macroalgae. It comes with a screw thread, which is standard ES fitting, and you can screw that into standard ES fittings, and it has a heatsink built into it around there. It's quite a large bulb, and it has, there we go, it has an array of LEDs of varying colours designed to grow algae. So in addition to that, I've picked up a gooseneck. These are relatively cheap, and what we can do is we can fit this light to the gooseneck and position it above the tank by just clipping the light onto either the frame of the aquarium stand or onto the side glass itself. We will see how that works out and how we want to position the light above the aquarium, above the refugium. I think this is going to work out a bit better. One, it's specifically designed for a refugium, and therefore it's going to be offering a bit of a better spectrum light. Also, that light is a bit cumbersome in the fact that the plastic bracket takes up quite a lot of room. I think this is going to offer me a bit of a better solution to get in amongst it and around it without having to compromise on the space. I'll put a link in the description to both of these items if you want to check them out and see if they might be a good solution for your refugium. I haven't tried this light yet. I've heard good things about them, but until I test it for myself, I'm going to reserve judgment on how good they are. But I will put the link in the description if you choose to pick one up. I'm not endorsing the product, I'm just showing you what I've decided to pick up and give a try based on other people's opinions. So we'll be giving that a go and see how that gets on. Let's see about how it's going to look over the refugium of the new tank. So if we take a look at the sump underneath the new tank, we can see there's a big area here that I've created for a refugium. This is the area that we're going to need to light. It's going to have a sand bed in there. All of the water exiting the tank will come directly down into here first and then overflow into the next sections. So this allows us to have this a little bit deeper than the other sections, more room for algae to grow. My reef lobster's going to be living in here, and there's going to be a few bits of live rock. So that's the area we're going to have to light, and this is the light we're going to use. My original thought was to clip it onto the metal frame because that will offer quite a sturdy base for the clamp to clamp onto. Having clamped it on now, it doesn't seem to want to stay put. It's a bit flimsy. So we might have to make some alternative arrangements for that. I'm thinking maybe put a clamp, put a bracket on the underside of the tank, screw it into the wood and hold that gooseneck up in place. This should work quite well. We can position that where we want it, and we still have some direction of where we want to put it. So that should work alright. Let's plug the light in and see how it looks, because completely honest, I've never actually plugged this light in, so I don't know if it works. There we go. So that's what it looks like. Well, to me that looks like it's white and blue. Unless they sent me the wrong one. This is supposed to be for growing refugium, and I was expecting, to be honest with you, something a bit more pink and purple looking. I'm guessing it's going to grow algae either way. To be honest, I've never had an issue with growing macroalgae in a sump using a energy saving light bulb or a coral grow lamp, so I don't find algae to be particularly fussy. Just having bought that specifically for a refugium, I was expecting it to be, have red LEDs in it. That seems to be the trend nowadays, but like I say, I will position, that's got quite a nice spread on it to cover that refugium without too much overspill into the other sections, which is nice, and I will just add a little clamp onto there to hold that up. The job's a good one. I'll feed the wire down the back and we'll plug that into maybe a timer to have it come on as and when we want it to, reversal it to the main display most likely. We may even run it 24 hours a day. But it certainly takes up a lot less room than the other option, which was this light. For what it does, clamping it onto the side took up quite a lot of room across the top of the tank, and it just obscured the ability to adjust the gate valve and just generally get your hands in and harvest the algae out. So we won't be using this, although it's a tried and tested method because it's the same light that I've been using on the refugium I already have. We're going to give this one a go, and you'll find out in due course if it's any good or not. So there you have it. That is the two little updates for the new tank so far. Not too much exciting stuff going on at the moment. Like I say, we're holding off for another few weeks before we can get this wet. That's when the excitement starts. We'll start the aquarium cycle going. It's probably going to sit there for about 6 weeks with no light, just feeding the tank and letting the algae letting the bacteria grow and establish a colony. And once we get to the point where we've got that nitrogen cycle nailed down, we can then start moving the fish and the corals from the old system into the new tank. We'll also be picking up a few new corals that I've earmarked for this tank, and we'll be adding those in due course. So if this is the sort of video that you want to see more of, then don't forget to subscribe. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, that will help out a lot. Take it easy guys, and I'll see you in the next video.